Peace, family, peace. We are back. Black Magic 363. We are back in the building. The elder has returned. Baba Kwame, SunHorse. Welcome back, my brother.
Good evening, Brother Rich. How will you be tonight?
Hey, like I tell you, I'm doing great. I'm a little tired, with the move and everything, a lot going on. But it's definitely a pleasure having you on here and having this conversation with you tonight. We're about to get into it right now, family. It's very important. I want all of y'all to share this. Matter of fact, I'm gonna text the people that I'm in live now. I want y'all to share this with your friends and family. This is of utmost importance. As I've been saying the whole year, we are in the utmost important of times right now. This time that we are in right now. So take it serious, Take it serious. When your grandchildren ask you, what were you doing? You want to tell them something, you want to have a good story to tell them. All right, family. So we're gonna get to some ads, and then we're gonna be right back. All right, family. Make sure you like the video. All right, family. We'll be right back.
Hey there! Had a bad dream? I have dreams too. Some parts are scary and some parts are fun. Always remind yourself, it's only a dream and everything will be okay. I had a dream about being in a forest too. Check it out, my pet Petey was with me. Order your copy of Kayla Petey and the Forest on Amazon today.
Hey family, it's King Simon, the founder of Numerovation. Remember, if you want to book a session with me and get a Numerovation consultation, all you have to do is text me your full name and date of birth to 347-496-1022. And if you want any of my books, go to linktree/King Simon, the Numerovator. That's King Simon, the Numerovator. And your books are available on Amazon. Remember, I'm the El Numero Uno, the Numerovator himself. And if you want to book a session, all you have to do is text me. Make sure you get my books on Amazon. I love you. Peace.
All right, family. Also, if you want to be notified of when I go live, you can text Rich to 646-760-7806. A couple of announcements. For those of you who are interested in the Wayne Chandler workshop that just happened, you could go to the website blackmagicuniversity.com. I seen a couple of you asked in the chat. So go to blackmagicuniversity.com for the workshop of Wayne Chandler. And also, we're going to be making a trip to Stone Mountain on June 11th. So I got everybody that text Stone Mountain to that number. I got your text. I will be responding to y'all soon, all right? But we're going to be going early in the morning. It's going to be awesome. Kwame Sunfire, man. SunHorse. I'm sorry, SunHorse. Well, man, a pleasure to have you back. I'm going to tell you, brother, one of the things that one of the statements you made that made me reach out to you as soon as I heard it, because the individual had texted me information. They was like, yo, you should have this brother on your show. I looked at your video within 5 minutes. I was like, yeah, I gotta have this brother on the show. One of the statements that you made, it was profound, and I don't want it just to go over people's heads or it to not be recognized and expounded upon. You said that the North and South poles are melting millions of years of consciousness and memory back into our atmosphere, back into our water supply. Now, that's so profound, so profound. I never heard anybody say it quite like that. Because of who we are as a people, what water means to us, and the whole science behind water and all of that. So we're going to get into, a deep conversation based on that statement. But to start out with, Brother Kwame, what did you, let's start out with what exactly could you expound upon that statement, my brother? What did you mean, if you could expound upon
Well,
that statement?
and being able to say that the ice age that we went through on this planet left that ice here, and that ice now has become very much important because this is what we are seeing in the news. We have 41 countries in the Antarctic. 41 countries down there claiming land in the Antarctic. And I want to share, if your readers can go on this site, what is the multi-message of messenger astronomy. This is a new science in which they're doing there in the Antarctic. And what they're doing with it is that they are recording the energy that is coming from the cosmos into the planet and into the Antarctic and the Arctic, but more so in the Antarctic, because what they've done now is set up satellites and laboratories. One is called the Ice Cube, and the Ice Cube is down there. And this is another article your people can go on and see. It's called the Ghostly Particles caught at the polar ice cap to look at the universe. And what they're doing, this is called the Ice Cube. And
wait, put that back up. Put that back up, brother Kwame. Let me just read the whole thing real quick. Ghostly particle core in polar ice ushers in new way to look at the universe. Neutrino detecting ice cube teams up with other instruments to study distant galaxies. Blazar. Okay, brother, go ahead. I just want to read it.
Right. And then what they're doing is that what's coming out of the galaxy and out of the cosmos is consciousness. These nano, the neutrino gamma rays are hitting the planet coming from the other side of the galaxy, from our Milky Way galaxy. And they are going into the ice. And so what that memory that was already there, and then you having that new energy from the cosmos is now there and releasing the cosmic particles. The part of it is this is part of the evolution. And even what they're doing in this other one, and there's an article, they talk about what they're doing in Mexico. And what they're doing, this is why we're talking about water with memory and consciousness. On a mountain peak in a national park in Mexico, 300 tanks holding 44,000 gallons of water apiece watch the sky, and light detectors inside the water tanks can collect light and produce disintegrating cosmic rays. Disintegrating.
Read that again. No. Read that again, brother. I'm sorry. Please read that again. Let me put that on the screen. Hold up. This is no. Okay. On a mountain peak in a national park in Mexico, 300 tanks holding 44,000 gallons of water. Blue Pill will love that part. A piece watch the sky. Light detectors inside the water tanks can collect the light produced by disintegrating cosmic rays. This international, wow.
And see, they're knowing that all of this is coming about with us being crossing the galactic center and having this new age of who? The water bearer. Who is the water bearer? The divine feminine. And we're coming into that age. We're in the era of Aquarius and Leo. And this is all by the cosmic order that we are sitting in a place in our Milky Way galaxy right now that we were 25,920 years, because we stay in the Pisces Virgo era 2,160 years. Each sign is 2,160 years. And so now we've made this whole journey around in our solar system. And now what we're doing is we're in this energy in the cosmos, and we're getting this consciousness that is bombarding. The particles of this consciousness is so vast that I'm trying to remember how many particles of electric. But the multi-messenger. And this is what they're doing, is that they're using satellites to record these images and things coming off her. And this is where you're getting these solar panels are covered with melanin. This is how they work with it, because this produces the energy to keep them up there and being able to harness that energy, and then getting this consciousness that's coming in through the water. So now what are they doing with that consciousness that's in those 44,000 gallons of water? How are they utilizing it, and what are they experimenting with it to see what they can get from it? So this is why I'm saying is that when these ice caps are melting and these icebergs, yeah, it's going to change land formation and that part, but it's also going to release what Dr. Emoto showed us in his book, when he was doing the experiment with ice and showing how you can freeze water and it forms a sacred geometry.
Mhm.
That's because the frequency that is held in that water, once you freeze it, because water is the only substance it can do it go into. You can have it liquid, you can have it ice, or you can have it gas.
Mhm.
And so in that, it releases, we're outside and the humidity is high. You're breathing in moisture. And then you got to look at our bodies is 70% water.
Mhm.
And so what we do is that we create a circuit of energy. And what they're doing now, they're harvesting the energy, the frequencies is coming out, and they're holding it in the water. It's been held in the water of the icebergs that's been sitting at the top of this earth and at the bottom of this earth for millions of years. Now it's being reactivated. And so now we're seeing this part of the genetic dealings, what they're doing with the human being. And I would ask you to, I don't know if I've ever showed this, the social life of DNA about race, reparations, and the reconciliation after genome, about the human genome. This is a book. Can I show a book?
Yeah. Just
Okay.
everything is good besides that. You know what? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's interesting. Wow, the social life of DNA.
And see, her name is Alondra Nelson.
Mm-hmm.
Alondra Nelson was put on Biden's genome committee. And
Mm-hmm.
what she did is now she's studying what they're doing, what they did with that conference that they had in Switzerland, Geneva, but they had a medical conference May 4th through May 2nd through the 4th or 5th. And what it was the global medical pharmaceutical companies got together, and what they did is they're looking at how do we create the pharmaceuticals are going to deal with the double helix. See, they were creating and looking at the 6 strand.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're moving from 6 back to 12. And so what they're looking at is how do we do this and work with this, because what they're looking at is creating, this is what they got to create. The algorithms for the oppression, because they understanding of our being reactivated and put into our highest consciousness to go against AI. This is divine intelligence that's coming from out above us and coming to the planet and releasing itself in what we are, water. And water having the ability to form those 3 forms, but also is what the human body is formed in and is. We're formed in water in the womb, and this is what the body is basically water. Because what we got to understand is that we got to look at something that's going to happen, and we got to really think about. I would advise people to watch her YouTubes, and her name is Ruha Benjamin. Race After Technology. And she talks about this technology and the melanin in our skin, because what they're doing with the technology, like you go into a restaurant and you put your hands under the water. I mean, you put your hands under the spigot or the faucet with the black side up, it wouldn't turn on. You'd have to turn it over so the white side would activate and turn the water on, because they program in the algorithms whiteness. But what we have to really look at too is dealing with what's happening with Henrietta Lacks and the genes. We got to understand the genesis of the cosmos, a continuation of creation. This book is, Lorraine, And this talks about how we created in the time of Kemet. You see all the metal netta here was written about. In the time of Kemet, we had an overstanding and connected with our cosmic self. This is why we built the pyramids and built everything in alignment with the heavens, because we knew as above, so below. And who was the person that was in charge of the above? You had Tahuti writing the emerald tablets, but he was married to, in the cosmic, was married to Sekhmet. Sekhmet was the keeper of the cosmic library. This is why you were talking about Aquarius, the divine feminine, because they took the feminine out and put the masculine in, the same way they took the scarab beetle out and put the crab in the temple of Dendera. Dr. Charles Finch, in his book, East of Eden, I think it was, wait a minute. Finch talks about this, and Finch lives here in Atlanta. He's still here. He used to teach at Morehouse. Now he's retired, but he wrote this book.
I got to reach out to the brother.
The Elder, yeah.
Echoes of the Old Dark Land.
Right. And what he talked about is what he did in his presentation called Heaven's Wheel. You can go on YouTube and it's called Heaven's Wheel. He talks about the alignment of all of the constellations and that, but what we're moving into is in the north. We're moving true north in the constellation of the North Star's Dracos, the dragon. We're moving out of that as we move into this new era. And what is going to be the constellation in the north is the Ethiopian king, Cepheus, who is the father of Andromeda, the chained woman, and she's going to be unchained. So they foresaw and they knew by astrological alignment and seeing that all of the things that happened in the 2000s was already predicted. So this is why I'm sharing about when that water melts, that ice melts, it's releasing memory and consciousness. What they're creating is that frequency that's coming from the cosmos and all of that cosmic particles, they're interfering. This is why they're chemtrailing. This is why they're putting the nanoparticles, the aluminum, is to distort the frequencies. But they can't, because you can't chemtrail over the ocean. You can't chemtrail at the North Pole and the South Pole. Only place you can do it is in urban areas where you have massive populations, where you can distort the genes of the human. And what they're doing is that they're offsetting the genes, because what they're doing is they're trying to do what Joseph Chilton Pierce wrote this book, The Biology of Transcendence. And what he's talking about is the blueprint of the human spirit. Because what we're seeing now and what we're calling mental illness, and I would commence to get this, Unapologetic Guide to Black Mental Health. Because what we're looking at is the mental health that they're talking about, that we're going through, is what the indigenous people knew is the trauma of the soul. Because when Freud, in his essence, when Freud turned around here and created what, quote unquote, psychology, he was an Egyptologist. He was studying the Seb and the spirit. The soul is the psyche. It's the mind. It's not the mind, it's the soul. It's the part that grows the mind. I remember this book, Eduardo Duran. This is a Native American psychologist, and what he's learned is that this is the trauma that we as a people and the indigenous brothers here on Turtle Island, we've got to learn that our souls are wounded. This is how they were able to do what they've done, because the thing that you do and traumatizing, and I have empathy, and my condolences go out to those 19 children, those parents of those 19 children. But that is one thing that you can do to traumatize a woman when any mother does not expect for her child to leave this planet before she does. And when you do that type of atrocity, you in turn traumatize and put fear into that person who can create another generation, and fear that she may not want to create another generation. And the other thing that we have to look at, and I've been doing some researches and looking at something, in 2020 census, the most increased population on Turtle Island was Hispanics.
Yeah, I read that. Yeah.
And they are increasing, and they have moved in. We've moved to third place. They're in second place. They make 1.5 trillion. We only make 1.3 trillion. They said at the University of Georgia. UGA does excellent economics and breaks down all of the money we spend as a people. And you can get reports from them to tell you we spend money on liquor, we spend money on cars, we spend money on houses, clothes, this and the other, and how much of it returns back to us. This is what we got to begin to do. Because, see, we got to understand this. And I know Brother Valentine was talking about melanin is worth more than gold. And we've got to understand the power of melanin, in which we pick up higher frequencies and we pick up more consciousness than any other race. And so what we have to begin to do is tap back into our universal self, because within us, they talk about the jinn, but it's the genie. There's a genie in the genes. And what we've got to be able to do is go back and tap into this genetic coding that they're now attacking as many ways as they can. Because what's happening with the release of that ice, the cosmic consciousness, connecting with our genetic codes again, we're coming back into ourselves.
Now that ice melting not only affects the water, our water supply, but the air as well, because the air is of another form of water, correct?
Correct. Because
So,
air is what? H2O.
yeah.
Hydrogen plus oxygen.
What
And so the thing that we're looking at in being able to breathe that air that was released and frozen, was frozen thousands and millions of years ago, to activate the whole genetic makeup of the human, is what they're attempting to do by distorting it and by planning an epidemic. Because what happened, and hold on. What happened is that in this country in the early 90s, Carnegie got together and founded the philanthropist foundations and start funding the research to see how can they get ready for what they knew was coming. Because even when we look at the program that they wrote and put it out there called the Willie Lynch, or Let's Make a Slave, if you look at that, it's dated December 1712. And when you look at it, it says, if you do this, it will last you 300 to 400 years with what you would do in making these people slaves. See, I got my water this time.
Indeed,
but in them 300 years, so you go from December 1712, 300 years would put it December 2012. Mm-hmm. That's the Mayan calendar. That's the ending of the galactic year. And so we knew with these alignments and being able to keep the calendars that we had in Dendera and in Kemet, the indigenous people here, the Chinese even had their calendar, and knew that we were coming back across the galactic center and we were going to be at the beginning of this 25,920 years. And there was going to be another evolution of human. And this is why this water was frozen, because we were coming back around and we needed to release what was stored in there from, like I just showed you, those cosmic rays being harvested in 44,000 gallon things to harness the cosmic rays.
Now, brother Kwame, real quick, 95% of the population has no idea that water or probably more, has no idea that water holds memory. So how exactly just look at it as a clear substance that we drink when we're dehydrated? How could you is there any explanation you could give to it being able to hold memory and consciousness?
In that it's hydrogen and oxygen. Oxygen comes from the carbon from our plants. And then you take the hydrogen and you put them together and it creates the liquid that feeds the plants. And so what you're seeing is that water in itself is part of our Milky Way galaxy, because we cross what they call the waters of Nu. Even in the Helios Biblios, he looked into the what? Dark water, and spoke into it and made everything to exist. So water in itself, if you speak into it, it's going to hold what is said, because it's an energy absorber. It's a conductor. This is why when you take silica and put it with the frequency of the earth and the sun and the silica water, this is what you will get. Clear quartz crystal. It forms and shaped itself from the frequency. There are pictures that they have taken of the sound of the sun and froze it, and it makes a perfect 8-point crystal snowflake. So it holds it. It's a conductor. You put an electric cord in some water, what you gonna get? That water is gonna conduct that electricity into it. You're gonna be electrocuted. So it's a conductor. And so in it being able to hold that, because what it does is every molecule in the water joins back and forms back together, and it can take any shape, or it can go around and be shaped. You pour it in a glass, it takes the shape. You put it in the ocean, you put it on the earth, and you make a whole ocean.
Do you talk to your water, Brother Kwame?
Oh, quite often, yeah. I got a jar in there, a big glass 5-gallon jar that I've got as my water that I use. I usually bring back water from hot springs, and I have crystals in this glass. And what I do is I pour the silica water in there, and I use that for special drinking ceremonies with it. You know, I use bottled water. I cook, because you cook it and you boil it, and you can cook. You boil out any impurities. And we do the Native American Inipe ceremony. What we do in that ceremony is that we heat up the oldest record keepers, which is the stones. And what we do with them as we dress the lodge, and which is made into the shape of a pregnant woman turned on its back. The part that we do with it is bring those stones in, and then we pour the water on those record keepers, and what's created is what's called the grandfather's breath. And in that breath, you begin to sweat, and your body releases its toxins coming out, while you're taking the memory that's coming from the steam of those stones that have been holding the records for what they know. And so there's an exchange of what you're doing is detoxifying your body, but taking in new consciousness and memory.
How important is rainwater?
Well,
Should
the first right now, rainwater is very important because that's how that water, that ice, those icebergs become rainwater.
mm,
Because they're what? They're evaporated up into
into
the
the air?
clouds.
Yeah.
They're moved through the winds and circulation in the clouds. And then they formulate together enough moisture, then it drops it back down. But the first 10 minutes of a rain, because of how we've polluted the air, it washes away everything. And so when you have a torrential downpour, it's clearing what's ever in the air, because you ever walk outside after it rains
After
and you,
rain, go ahead, get
oh
it.
man, fresh.
Feel good. It feel good. Oh, it
Yeah,
feel good. You yeah, go ahead, brother. I got excited. Go
because
ahead.
it's pure.
Yeah.
The water that has washed away everything in pureness. And
Damn.
so that's how once upon a time we had rain barrels.
Mm.
We didn't have no piping systems and all that. We would catch the rain in rain barrels, or we dug a well. I remember my great grandmother's house and going down in Mississippi and going out in the backyard, and she had the old pump. And all you do is pump, and that water come out ice cold. You just stand there and drink it right out of there. You can't do that today.
Yeah, can't. No.
Not in a lot of places.
Yeah.
You can walk down to the stream, go there in the creek and drink water right out of the creek. Just stick your face down there and drink it. You can't do that today.
Mm. Indeed. Do you ever put your water in like the copper jars, copper like the copper
Well,
containers?
they have, yeah, certain waters you can put in copper, but copper is just a conductor. It's electrical conductor. So what you're doing would be better in putting your water in crystalware than copper, because crystal is a formulation of a mineral, as opposed to copper is a mineral, but it's a conductor.
Mm-hmm.
Crystal is a transmitter and a conductor.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be better using crystal. That's why the people have, grandma always had a set of crystals in her china cabinet,
Mm-hmm.
because they knew that crystal formulated, that crystal was able to transmit and receive.
Mm. Wow, this is some interesting stuff.
Yeah,
So
and I'm grateful for you, because what we got to do is do what, you know, Edward Bruce Bynum. I don't know if you've had him on your show yet,
no, I haven't. That's the
but
brother who
Bynum
wrote.
wrote a book
Yeah,
about
yeah.
our unconsciousness, because we got to reconnect back
Uh-huh.
to our ancestral self, because what we're looking at in the psychological, the soul, the spirit, the ka, the thing that we've got to redo is reconnect back, because we got a whole lot of unemployed ancestors.
Mm.
And see what we got to also do, because you have young ones, and the part that we're missing out in is we don't give our children grandma lap time. We'll give them a laptop, but we won't give them lap time. And
Deep.
that lap time is more powerful than that laptop,
Mm. Okay.
because grandma's love.
Yeah.
And that's something that we got to begin to do, to offset this attempt to take away our children through technology.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so it's being able to understand what Bruce Lipton says, and that with this new DNA, and you're talking about, I said, the 33,000 strands of what they call junk DNA, no, dormant DNA,
Mm-hmm.
is that Bruce Lipton is written, and what he talks about is how we can reprogram our DNA. Being able to see, these are the double helixes here that's coming back here. And so what we got to be able to do is be able to reprogram. This is where we're getting epigenetics. And, you know, what's his name? Edwin Nichols talks about the epigenetics and the traumas that we go through from generation to generation. And what we have to begin to do is, how do we break these generational curses and begin to do? Because even in the community today, having to look at something that was going on in the community, and as an elder, they're saying, what do we need to do? We need to hold that person accountable, and we need to bring him, the men need to go to that man, and we need to talk to him, and we need to have a way to change the way the things in which is going on and what modalities are going on.
Yo,
You
bro.
know, I love that, you know, Sister Tahita and Ken Amun introduced and talked about getting on this show. And the part that they're doing is networking to where we're creating part of the Overground Railroad. And what we're creating is oasis. When we go to Hot Springs now, there is a house there in Hot Springs that's owned by a brother in Chicago and Tahita and Kent. So we have a place with the sweat lodge in back and all the amenities that go with that house. So when we travel there to go harvest crystals, we got a place that's owned by us that we can supply and be there and have classes and do the work after we come and finish digging the crystals.
Mm.
And so these sorts of rituals, just like what they're doing with EJI, the Equal Justice Initiative, you never been there in Montgomery?
No.
In the lynching museum, what they're doing is the 4,000, 4,000 lynchings that were done in America, that they now have and what they have is a museum that they have a wall. And what they do is they take the places like LaGrange, Georgia. They will go there where the woman was lynched, and they will go there and they will do ceremony and begin to take the earth from that spot, do a healing. And then what they would do in doing the healing, this is where it's called. They will do a healing and take the earth from that and bring it to the museum, and they put it on the wall with that person's name. And this is to honor that ancestor, but we got to heal that earth that they were killed on.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have to begin to heal, just like the icebergs have memory and consciousness they hold in water. The soil of the earth holds death and pain.
Mm. Let me ask you this. So, you know, we're talking about water, memory, consciousness, and you bringing up, you showing that book about the lynchings made me think about Lake Lanier. Now,
Yeah.
a lot of people are scared of Lake Lanier, and a lot of people die when they go to Lake Lanier, black and white. I remember, I think Usher's son or daughters, no, his wife's child died, I think,
They
at Lake
flooded
Lanier.
it over to cover up a black town that they destroyed. I mean, there are many places here, and what's even happening more now, and what they're doing with indigenous people. We kind of had leeway. We had colored schools, so we had our own teachers and that. But when the indigenous people were taken off the res and put in the missionary schools, thousands of those children, as they found 1,500 graves in Canada, they found hundreds of graves here in Turtle Island. And so what we're seeing is these atrocities, the earth are giving up their dead. And we have to have healing ceremonies. That's why we go, and when we do ceremony, we do what? The same thing a brother does when he opens a 40. We pour a libation to the ones that are not here, because that's the part of healing. You know, when a person gets shot, why is it that we have a memorial? We just celebrated yesterday Memorial's Day, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know that 407, where that came from was the Union soldiers that were killed? But
Mm-hmm.
a lot of our people don't know that.
Yeah.
That's where that came from, because they had mass graved them.
Mm-hmm.
And the people of the town got together and dug up and created a burial plots for them.
Mm-hmm.
And to have a memorial for all of those soldiers that gave their life so they could be free.
Powerful.
For the transfer of ownership, because emancipation don't mean free, it means transfer.
Mm.
You emancipate a child, you just transfer ownership to the state.
Mm-hmm.
You emancipate a slave, you just transfer it to the Department of Correction called Washington, D.C.
Mm. You're not a fan of the Emancipation Proclamation. I know a lot of our people are fooled by that. Yeah, my brother Moon said in the chat, he was like, "Does this dude live in a library or something?" You done pulled out 20 books, my brother. I'm loving it. I'm loving it.
See that?
Hold up. Let me put that on the screen. Hold up. All right.
See the brother there?
Yeah.
That's what you got.
Manumission papers.
That's what a real manumission paper used to look at. You had to have that. It's like your probation papers or your parole papers today.
Oh.
To say you free.
So that's what they had to carry around.
Yes. And sometimes it didn't work anyway, because they just tear them up and they couldn't read it no way. They was illiterate. So that's what we have to begin to do, is to do what Sonia Sanchez says. How do we free ourselves? First, we got to discover that there's a universe within that we're being guided back to reconnect to ourselves. And that's why you asked me at the beginning, what was that statement? It's because that's what's being released.
How important is mountain air, like to be on, some mountains are so high that the clouds come under the mountain. That must be the best energy to get when you're on top of a mountain and you above the cloud. You know how pure that information, that download must be. Talk to me about the mountain air.
But you're going to do a ceremony on Stone Mountain on June the 11th, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And the thing that you ever been on top of Stone Mountain?
Yeah.
Okay. You know that there's a brass ring that sits down in the granite, that's drilled all the way down into it, that the Klan put there. That's where they used to have their ceremonies. Okay. Stone Mountain is the largest granite, because Georgia is the granite capital. But Stone Mountain goes 16 miles down into a volcano. That's what is plugged up. You ever been around to the back of Stone Mountain?
No.
Okay, go back around there and you'll see it's like a quarry. And
what's a quarry? What's a quarry? Tell me.
A quarry is when they break off stone and they break up rock.
Okay.
And they took off the backside of Stone Mountain. You know what they used the back of Stone Mountain for?
What?
The Atlanta Federal Penitentiary.
Yeah?
Yeah, the Daughters of Confederate bought some land and paid the federal government, and they took out all the men that were serving life and sent them to the Atlanta Federal Penitentiary, and they blew off Stone Mountain to make it. If you go there, which is only a few miles away from Stone Mountain, and you'll see these huge granite walls and towers and big old doors, that's where it came from. Georgia's got a history. Elberton is where the Georgia Guidestones, where they put it in all those 9 languages, and saying that, is it 9 or 7 languages? And what they did was that the population on the planet is to only be 500 million.
My brother Tone B was just telling me that today. Yeah.
Yeah, it's right up. It's north of here, like you going up 85 to, well, you can take, you in Stone Mountain, so you could take 78 over to 441, and 441 will run you up into Elberton. And it's up there, it's north. You know where Elberton, the politician, her name is Marjorie Green, the young white woman that was running around there talking about she gonna carry a gun into Congress and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
That's her district.
Mm. Man,
and you go up there to Cartersville, and if you go to Cobb County, that's where they put the Brave Stadium is, and in front of the adult prison there in front of Cobb County Detention Center, they call it Detention University because they got all these prisoners, jails there. You see where the word prison camp came from. They make a cage, a wagon up in Cartersville. They used to make this wagon that had 6 beds in it. They were steel cages. They put them in horses, and they took the prisoners out of the prison, and they took them out and formulated the camp when they was building Georgia over after the Civil War. And that's where they came up with the word prison camps, because they take 2 or 3 of them wagons, and you got, 12, 18 folks out there sleeping in the wagons while the guards sleeping in tents, eating food. They sleeping up in these open cages.
Mm-hmm.
And see, where I live at here, Edenton is the home of the guy who wrote Burr Rabbit, but Alice Walker was born here, the one who wrote Color Purple.
Mm-hmm.
And the next town from that is Milledgeville. Milledgeville was the original capital of Georgia. And it's where the first prison was built in Georgia, February 24th, 1870, because it was on my birthday, and that's why I can remember that date.
I was about to say, how you remember all of this? God damn.
And the same thing when you can look up, if you do research and go on to Georgia Historical Quarterly, James Oglethorpe founded Georgia in 1732, I think, or 32, 35. But what they did was, when they established it, in Georgia Historical Quarterly, there's a guy named Fante, Fant.
Yeah.
And he wrote the history of Georgia with James Oglethorpe. And he says that Georgia was founded as a white supremacy colony to be between the Spanish Florida and the slave state of South Carolina. It was a prison camp.
Wow. Yeah, let me ask you, would you be interested in coming with us to Stone Mountain on June 11th?
I'm leaving for Chicago Thursday morning.
Okay, cool. I was about to say, man.
I did my ritual. We had a drought. We had a drought here in Georgia back in early 2000, or was it before that? But anyway, I had a brother, friend of mine, native brother. His name was Benny LeBeau, Benny Blue Thunder. And we had this drought. And
Really
Cherokee and some of the other indigenous people said, we got to go to the mountain. So he called me and said, get your people, meet me at Stone Mountain before sunrise. We got to do a sunrise ceremony. We all got together, took our drums and regalia. We went up to the top of Stone Mountain. We took crystals and put where that brass pipe is down in the earth. We put crystals all around it. And we did a ceremony. And he did some prayers, and we did the songs as the sun was coming up. It ain't stopped raining in Georgia yet.
Wow. When y'all did this? When was this?
It was early 2000, around 2006, 2007. They had a big drought because it didn't rain, and it was hard to get rain here in Georgia for a while. And Benny said, because Benny was what he was do geomancy. He was a Shoshone. And he was out there in Yellowstone, because you got Stone Mountain. Then you got Pilot Mountain, which is called Knob Mountain, there in North Carolina, up near Raleigh. Raleigh. Pilot Mountain triangulates into Mount Shasta, because what we have on the planet, we have 144 grids, and there are certain places on ley lines on the grid, there's certain energy portals and vortexes that connect to the inner earth and align with the heavens.
Name some of them places that
I just Stone Mountain, Pilot Mountain, you got Etowah Mounds, you got right here in Blakely, you got the second largest earth mound built by the Mississippians is Kolomoki. Kolomoki and Cahokia is on the Mississippi River, right across from St. Louis, where you have the big silver arch there, the Jefferson Memorial. The first city on Turtle Island was Cahokia. They had over 25,000 people live there on the Mississippi. And so you have Cahokia, you have Kolomoki here, you have the Etowah Mounds, you have the mounds up going towards South Carolina. You got Poverty Point that sits on the Mississippi River. And Poverty Point is the transmitting station for the Mississippi, because the Mississippi starts in Lake Itasca in Minnesota, in the land of 10,000 lakes and 12,000 earth mounds, because all of the indigenous built mounds around that. And where we go crystal digging on the other side of 30, you have the world's largest crystal bed is in Hot Springs, Arkansas. It runs 170 miles east and west, and it runs 40 to 70 miles north and south. It's the largest one body of clear quartz crystal. You got crystal in Florida, in Brazil and Mauritania. These are the largest crystal deposits, because in Hot Springs, they have been formulating crystals for thousands and thousands of years. And the water from there comes up 1.5 million gallons a day at 143 degrees.
Wow.
Pure silica water. So those are portals. Then you have, let's see, Lake Itasca, you got Pilot Mountain, you've got the 40th parallel, that's why Boulder, Colorado is so far. And then Mount Cheyenne, which is the underground cavern. Then you have the Egyptian mountains in the Grand Canyon, Isis, Horus, all of that. And this is where the portal was, that when the Ice Age came, the people from Shambhala came up and took the indigenous people down through during the Ice Age and brought them back up out of there.
Deep. And for those that don't know, what's Shambhala? For those that don't know,
Inner Earth.
Inner
Earth is that there's a city within the earth, and there's a sun within the big iron magnetic sun that spins in the earth that gives us the gravitational pull.
So the sun within the earth gives us the gravitational pull.
Right.
Man, this was, this show was, we got to get into some Q&A from the people. I need to get some questions from the people before we get out of here. You are a wealth of knowledge and wisdom, my brother. It is my honor to have brought you on this platform, my brother.
See, we got to answer this question. What happened to our legacy? Who stole it? I'll get this right. George G. and James, and that was by Asa Hilliard. Asa did the forward. Asa was from here. Well, he taught at Georgia State, and he was an educational psychologist, and his wife Patsy was the mayor of East Point.
Family, we're gonna get some Q&A right now. For about 15 minutes before we get out of here. Once again, I want to thank the brother Kwame SunHorse for joining the show. Let's get into some questions. Family, make sure you support the channel. Cash App at the bottom of the screen, Black Magic 363. You don't have a Cash App, right, brother Kwame? I think you don't.
Yeah, it's $ Kwame Sun.
I didn't know if you, let me put that in the chat. Cash App.
And see, what I see, the thing that we have to begin to do is that this is what's getting ready. This is happening now. And I think I showed this book last time.
Yeah, you did.
But this is the part that we have to begin to understand, because we have to do what Baba Fukiao did when he wrote this book, Self-Healing Third, because he gives the teaching that we had an understanding. Is it up? What did I do with it? He wrote a book called African Cosmology.
Bro, you're gonna break the world record for pulling out books during the show, man.
Nah, Grant Park
Bro.
got me beat, man.
Wow, man. We got a lot of writing to do, man.
African cosmology. We
Cosmology.
understood the cosmos. These are the Bantu Congolese people.
Mm-hmm.
We wrote about our cosmic connection in our language and did this. And we have to get back to this. The African has to reconnect.
Mm-hmm.
These are ancestors now.
Let's I want to start with the questions. I see a good question here. Sunny D wants to know, is the bottled water traumatized? Should we reprogram it? Bottled water, is this trauma for the water to be placed in
It's
plastic?
trauma, because what is plastic made from? Petroleum. It's made from petroleum. So when you take water, and if you don't keep it at a temperature, because it's already leached, that's why you should use glass, or like you said, copper, because what happens when you turn around here and take that Deer Park water, that word, all of this is in that water. Because it's on this bottle, so that water absorbs what's on this paper. It transfers the energy. So if you froze it and you took it and put it on the microscope, you would see what those words look like when it's frozen.
Deep. There's some deep stuff, y'all. There's some deep stuff. Yeah, we definitely, I think that's something moving forward, family. We've become a bottled water culture. It's so convenient. Yeah, it's by design, but we definitely, us being water beings and us moving into the Aquarian age, we got to get away. We got to get away from this, family. I'm gonna make a concerted effort to get away from that. I'm gonna order some copper bottles, and brother, you said crystal as well. I'm gonna order some stuff tonight. The show's going to inspire me to treat my water better. So I'm
because your water is your life. And then the other thing that you got to understand too, and this is why I was talking about reprogramming the DNA, but we also got to look at our brain is 80 to 90% water, right? The brain. So in the currents and the neural nets and the synapses that run through the brain, this is why we always talk about friendship, relationship, partnership. When you say in ship, and then we talk about what? Commercial law, right? Navigating your mind. That's what they're talking about. Because you're the captain of your ship. Relationship. The highest order of being able to navigate the thoughts and things that go through.
Deep, brother. Somebody wants to know, where is it? Do you believe, I guess they're saying, do you believe we live on a globe?
Yes.
Okay.
I think we went through that question, and it might have been on another show. But you can go out, and if you ever been on the ocean and you stand there and you look at the horizon, which from the point you're standing to where you see the line where the sky and the water come together is 20 miles. And if you turn, you'll see the circumference. It's not just straight, flat. It's got a circumference, and that part of it. And the other part is, if that the earth did not have it, then how is it that we turn away from the sun every day and every night? It rotates. The sun sits here. We orbit. What we call is called the ecliptic. It takes 1,300 years to go out, and it takes 1,300 years to come back. And it's a galactic year, 26,000.
If all water in the universe sharing the same memory, is all water in the universe sharing the same memories? How are we extracting and inputting the data?
That's what I was sharing about the cosmic particles that they're collecting in those containers and being able to harvest that. They're looking at it and researching and seeing what are the particles of this water, this energy coming from the cosmos, because you have where they just saw where two black holes joined together and the mass explosion of a nova finally reaching from the other side of our galaxy, making it here. Yesterday, we had an alignment with an asteroid that was passing through our solar system, where the sun and the new moon all met up and sent the energy, because anything that we travel and pass through, even with what they had the meteor showers last night, those meteors, as they're shooting, are sending particle dust to the planet. So those particle dusts are being absorbed, coming from out in the galaxy, wherever they're shot across from. They're carrying tail energy, and now that energy is brought down to the earth. So in you saying about, what was the question about the water?
Is all water in the universe sharing the same memories?
Yeah, and it is, because it's the universe is one big energy. There's two energy, dark energy and dark matter makes the universe. And so in it being dark matter and dark energy, in that being that the matter has the energy, gives the matter the form, and then it comes into, it's like thought is faster than light. So these are part of the what they call astrophysicists. This is what they're now doing: string theory and quantums and quarks and all of these things that they're now talking about. There's, I think I talked about, her name is Susan Joy Renison, and she's an astrophysicist. She's out of the UK, and she wrote a book, I think, called The Diamond. But she was the one that gave United States and NASA and told them, you need to start watching space weather, because the coronal mass ejections that were coming off of the sun is going to start hitting the earth, and there's going to be major blackouts. This is why you see the electrical companies, one, trying to switch to solar. The second is that they're taking and burying cables underground, and they're reinforcing their transformers to take that burst of energy, because that's what I was talking about on that. The neutron bomb is the bomb that they created, copying from space. Neutron energy will knock out everything electrical and leave people alive.
Wow.
But you look at something, what would happen if you had a neutron explosion over major cities that knocked out every electrical current? You would have mass chaos in this third line.
Yeah, definitely. Let me get to the next question. Shout out to Solar Guard, big time supporter of the platform. Solar Guard wants to know, why doesn't the Atlantic and Pacific water doesn't merge? I don't
They
know if
do
you understand.
merge, because you look at the Pacific is on the west coast. You got the Gulf of Mexico comes around. This is why they built the Suez Canal. Even when the Panama Canal, the Suez Canal is over there because the Mediterranean, so they wouldn't have to go around the Horn of Africa. But the other part that people don't understand is that the Arctic water is salty. The Atlantic water comes from fresh. They mix.
Why is one salty and one not?
Landmass.
Indeed. Let's get to the next question. How do we tap into the cosmic energy despite the chemtrails and other bad frequencies?
Well, the same way that our trees and everything else, in that when you come, they chemtrail certain areas at certain times. If you watch the sequential thing that happens early in the morning before the rush hour, they'll go over and they'll make their grid. So by the time that you're in your car in traffic jams, it's making its way down to you. When you're getting off work, they grid again. So you out and you're doing and making your grocery shopping, and then that grid is to where it falls at a certain rate of speed to where it's going to meet you when you're in the street. It's going to meet you when you're in the street.
Diabolical. Man, diabolical. Oh man.
But the other way that you can do is coming into nature.
Right.
Because in that trees, there is a tree that the Japanese have, and I can't think of the name of it. That wood will not let a radio transmission go through it.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you begin to go into nature, which is 432 hertz, and you're walking on, your body is 7.2 hertz. The earth has what's called the Schumann frequency, and there's no other time with all of this energy coming from the cosmos. The regular frequency for the Schumann is 7.82. There are places here on the planet that has gone up to almost 45 to 90 hertz. That's how much energy that's been hitting these spots.
Any places in particular?
Other thing that happens too, when you see these places in the city where these water mains burst, it's a burst of energy that's been hit, because it will burst a pipe.
Any the areas that reach 40 to 50 hertz, do you know the names of any of these areas that's being hit?
No, it's usually up in the northern, it's either the northernmost part of the planet, because when they come down and hit, this is where they go in it and they disperse along the grid. So that's why you go in Houston, Texas, or Galveston, Texas, there in the Gulf of Mexico. The three crystal pyramids at the Moody Bible School pyramids, it's a mall. They're three crystal pyramids, and they're built on the 29.6 latitude. And if you take 29.6 latitude, you'll go straight to the pyramids of Giza. They just took and put an extension cord into it.
Wow. Let's see. Let's get to the next question. Is any?
And like you were saying, going up on top of a mountain, going out in nature, and especially at night, because you get the sun's energy during the day, but then at night you have all of the Milky Way. If you ever live in a place where there's very little interference light, like street lights and all of that, go out about 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning and look up, and you'll just see a massive string of stars, and that's the Milky Way going over us. That's how you connect to it, because once you look up, your eyes is absorbing what's already sent to it, because the light that you seeing in that star may have gone out, but it's reaching to your eyes at that moment.
Some powerful stuff. So you stargaze. Now you don't just sun gaze, you stargaze as well.
You stargaze and you absorb, and it's just like when we have eclipse and going out and watching that moon and that sun, because what it is, it's like a reboot. It's like they line up, one blocks the other, and then when it moves, it just shoots off the energy back to the planet. So you getting twice as much, because however long that time it could. And see, everybody, it's getting ready to happen 2024. 2017 was the eclipse across America. Everybody lined up from the West Coast to the East Coast, looking at watching that eclipse as it was coming on across and went on off to the east. Now it's going to come from the west. and it's going to come and it's going to go south, and it's going to crisscross. When I told you at Cahokia on the Mississippi River, where the Stargate is, that's where it crisscrosses at.
What's up? I don't know if I asked this to you or somebody else, but what's the deal? The spiritual significance of the X. I know the Confederates, they got the X on their flag, and I've heard brothers say that used to be our flag. And I always, hear
XY chromosome. The chromosomes. X, okay, is that the part of being that. But then you take off one part of the tail is the Y. That's the male. So she has both male and female. That's what she carries in her mitochondria, the XY chromosomes.
Wow. So the X would be like the divine feminine, and the Y is
the male. That's why you say yoni. I know why, male.
Wow. Man. Okay. The next question. This is a super chat question. Thank you to Ascending Infinite Goddess. I almost missed your question. She wants to know, peace, God. Can you talk about the benefits of downloading information while sun gazing at sunrise, especially for our Melanite tribe?
It's the highest frequency. This is why I don't know if it's called it's a Vedic ritual called Agnihotra. Agnihotra is when you at sunrise and sunset is the most powerful energy as it coming up, because when the sun is coming up before it reaches us, if you go out before sunrise, you will hear the crickets and the tree frogs, and they'll be singing. And then it's always darkest before the dawn. And in that that darkness before the dawn is the switch of energy from nocturnal to light. And what happens is the insects and the nocturnal creatures know that frequency shift, and the birds at the top of the tree will begin to sing. And so as that ray of light comes up, you have to wait to at least 15 minutes until you'll see the light, but the ultraviolet has not come out yet. I used to be into photography, and I used to go out on the lake and wanted to take pictures of the sunrise coming up out of the lake. And I would be standing there, a tripod, got the sun perfectly in focus, shooting pictures, going. That's when the old days, you take it to Walgreens and get it developed. Every picture was black because the ultraviolet light had not hit yet. You could see it, but it hadn't made to where, remember I said standing at one point, and for the horizon, it was 20 miles away. It hadn't reached me yet. And so in gazing at the sun at sunrise and sunset, because I'm a sun dancer with the Lakota Nation, and what we do is that we go out 4 times in a day, at sunrise, at high noon, in the evening, and at sunset. And we dance for 4 days with no food or water. And all we do every day when we go out there at those different times is we dance looking into the sun. For 4 days, and we belong to spirit. And in that connection of download, your atoms in your body will fill with the energy that's coming off the sun, and you'll travel, because on the other side of the sun, we see the yellow, but on the backside is green.
On the other side of the sun?
Yeah, the backside of the sun is green.
Why is the backside of the sun green?
I don't know how to answer that one, but I know when I saw it, it was green. And if you look at a lot of science pictures too, they'll show you it's green.
Let's take one more question, family, before we get out of here. Shout out to everybody in the chat. We got over 2,100 people in the chat. Let me share your Cash App one more time with the people, family. Cash App. Say that again. Say that again, Brother Kwame. Your Cash App.
Son.
Kwame Son.
Kwame Son. $sign Kwame Son.
Yeah, $sign.
Oh, this is what I wanted to show.
Climate change. Vedic scientific solution.
And this is called Agnihotra. And what it does is that you take cow dung, you take ghee, unsalted butter, and you take brown rice, unbroken. And before sunrise, you pour on the ghee onto the dung, add the brown rice, and you light it. And there's a mantra you say, Agnaye Swaha, Agnaye Idam Nam Mama, Pijapataye Swaha. And in you doing that, it removes all negativity and radiation. It clears so the sun's new energy will be clear coming through to you. They use it at sunrise and sunset, burning that. And you can take the ash from that and put it and purify any water. And it will grow plants, because we used to have a peach tree, and we used to take the ash and put it around the peach tree and water it. And man, those peaches would come out hand size and sweet as sugar.
Let's I'm gonna get to this one last question, family, before we get out of here. How long does it take to program water, and what processes or techniques must we use?
It varies, because you can what do they call it? Osmosis. That's salt water, or you can take and you can put in crystal. You can run water over charcoal through sand and that part, or you can boil it. And distilled water is kind of like no energy. But with you putting in a crystal, or you can steer water to the left 8 times, and then you steer it to the other way, because what you're doing is that if you flush a toilet here in the north, the centrifugal force will spin it down one direction. If you flush a toilet in the south, it'll spin it the other direction. So what you're doing is you put both directions in the water. That's why you see in the tub, when you're letting water out, it'll spin in a vortex. And it'll spin around and around like that. And spinning water and doing that. But also, if you want to really give your water energy, get you a glass container, preferably cobalt blue, because that way it takes away fluorescent lights by using a blue bottle or a green bottle. And then you put love, whatever it is that you want that water to help you with, put that on that, write it with a marker on that bottle, and you put it on that bottle, and then you sit it in the sun, and then at the end of the day you take it out, and then you energize with it.
Cobalt blue jars, glass jars.
Right, cobalt blue, because see, if you put a water in a glass, it'll develop algae, because life is in that water, and it'll develop algae. And so what you want to do is you want to break that up so it doesn't form, but it still gets the light of the sun's energy in it.
So the way to do that is with the cobalt blue. Okay.
Or
blue,
green. Or green glass.
Okay.
Glass with color. Because that way you're getting the energy of the sun, the rays and the energy that's coming from the sun into that water, and it's programming. That's why when you full moon is when you clean your crystals. You put a little sea salt and water in a crystal bowl, and you put your crystals in it and leave it in the moonlight. The moon takes all the negative energy, because the full moon is completion, and what it's getting ready to do is getting ready to wane and take away anything that was in its light. And so you putting it in the full moon, and then the next day when the sun rises, you let it sit there till sunset. Then you bring it in, and then you wash and clean it with clear water. And then what you do, if you want, you got certain crystals, you take the point of your crystal, you put it in your left hand, which is your heart, You put your spirit over it, and you put it to you, and you talk into it what you want it to help you with. You program it.
Oh, I did that. Hey, that you answered that question. Yeah, Mr. Zeno, he answered your question thoroughly, brother. Hey, before we get out of here, brother Kwame, once again, I want to thank you for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure. This is the second show with you, my brother, and it's been an honor to have you on here. Tell the people how they can contact you if they want more information from you.
Just Kwame SunHorse at gmail.com.
Kwame Son at Gmail.
At gmail.com.
All right. Hey, shout out to thank you to everybody who tuned in tonight. We still got over 2,000 people. For those of you who missed the Wayne Chandler workshop, you could go to Black Magic University to purchase it. I'll be back on here tomorrow with Dr. Phil Valentine. So Dr. Phil will be back on tomorrow. Y'all know he got that webinar coming up this weekend. So he'll be on here tomorrow for a quick second. So make sure all of y'all tune in tomorrow night. With that being said, this is Brother Witch.
I want to thank you,
Yeah.
but bringing me on before, because I couldn't follow.
Man, you did a great job, man. You did an awesome job. I'm gonna watch this one again tonight. So yeah, thank you, brother. I'm gonna have you on here again soon, man. So just when you see my call,
give me a heads up, because I'm gonna be on the road until the end of June, and then I've got a booking for some ceremonies in July and 2 and 7. So you have to check in with me, because this is getting ready to be busy season.
I hear you, my brother. I'm definitely I'll check in with you a couple of weeks ahead of time.
Thank you, sir.
Make sure we make it happen. All right, we out of here, family. Peace.
Peace.